right, and one more thing, Nicholas. I think that this would be a good opportunity just to kind of go over with you what you're going to need to know theory-wise, written theory-wise. Um, you are responsible for all of the intervals, which I told you about as far as listening to them, but you are also responsible for being able to recognize them. And then at this level, what they do is they ask you to add a flat or a sharp, if need be, to make an interval. So for instance, they want a perfect fifth in this example. I wish I do is just show it to you. I can't tell when I hold the camera though if it's too close. So you'll have to like text me and say, oh, you'll have to do that again, it was too close. So here we go. All right, so you notice here that we start with an E flat. They give you a B and they say you need to do something to the B to make it a perfect fifth, because right now it's diminished. And so what you need to do, the way I do these is I think in key signatures, and I don't know, that's another thing we'll have to touch on. But you would think about in the key of E flat major, would your B be natural or would it be flatted? And if you know in the key of E flat, you would have three flats: E flat, B flat, A flat, not in that order. So that would tell you that you would just need to make the B flat. So it might be helpful for you to spend some time with your flashcards, because I think I saw on the next page you're gonna need to know your key signatures. Under chords, they are going to ask you to write root position chords, but they could be major, minor, or diminished. So we're going to need to do some practice with that, and I would suggest that you do, before you come back next week, you do some work in your theory book about practicing writing chords, because if I remember correctly, that's what you have the most trouble with. So just look up the unit, because every theory book has a unit for intervals and a unit for chords. And if we haven't done them, which I don't think we've spent a lot of time in this particular book that you have right now, so I think you should have some extras for that. On this type of chord question, they are going to show you a chord in an inversion. And remember how we figure out what inversion it is? If there's one note above the other two, it's a first inversion chord. If there would be two notes above and the one note on the bottom, two notes above means a second inversion. So to find the root, which you have to give the root and the inversion, the root you go to the top of the interval of a fourth, and that's the name. The top note in the fourth is the name of the chord, the root of the chord. And then, so in this case, we go, that is hopefully you said C. We can tell that that is C minor because the E is flatted. But they just want you to name the root, so it's C, first inversion. Oh, they did want C minor, okay. Literally it says the root, so, but I would be safe, yeah, I'll put the whole chord. Here, hopefully this will be easy enough for you. You would just have to circle which is the correct one for A flat major. And if you and I were sitting together and I said which one was the one for A flat major, you would say they look the same. Oh no, this one's missing. So it's this one. A flat major is the four flats. So it should be this first one. Here is where you're going to have to do some work, because I'm not sure how you do with memorizing and recognizing the key signatures, but you know how to play all of these, essentially. So you're going to have to be able to tell what is the key signature, this for a major key, and then for its relative minor. So you know how with sharp keys, you just go to the last sharp, go up a half a step, and that's the name of the key. So this would be B major. And then to figure out its relative minor, you think down 3 half steps. I'm starting on B, so you're going to go down 3 half steps. And 3 letter names: B, A, G. Now you might say, oh, it's A flat. No, you can't have an A flat because you're in a sharp key. So whatever the relative minor is going to be, it's going to have a sharp in its name if it's a black key. So that would be G sharp minor. But you will have a question on there about that. So now's as good a time as any to try to figure that out. These will not be hard for you because you've had these all through the different years, being able to recognize the chord progression, and they still are doing them the same way. They're not trying to trip you up. The 1 chord is always stacked like a snowman. The 4 chord always has a third at the top, and the 5/7 always has a second. So that'll be one of the simpler questions to answer. Given an incomplete measure, add 1 or more notes. This one is not telling you specifically to add this type of note. So if you do the math, you've got 1 beat there, 1 beat there. So you could add 2 quarter notes. You could add a half note. You could get really fancy and just repeat all of that, but somehow you'd have to fill in 2 beats there. Bar lines, and it looks like it'll be in a 6/8 rhythm this year. So be thinking in 1/8 notes getting the beat. So you'd probably be able to figure out, you put a bar line here. Each of those are 3, so 3 plus 3 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bar line, and that takes up a whole measure there. And then your terms, espressivo, which I'll give you these unless you are like Mr. Amazing and you write these all out on cards or something, but we can also put them on sticky notes or whatever. Espressivo means expressively or with feeling. Presto is very fast. Vivace is lively or very quick. I would say very quick is probably more commonly used one, but you'll probably see it exactly like that on the test if it's on there. Sostenuto is sustained. Molto is very. Meno is less. Mosso is motion, and these would be a set of 16th notes. Now I know for a fact, because I helped proofread the tests, there are more words than that on this level, and so she also includes some words from previous levels that you should know. So it's probably a good time to brush up on some of your terms, which I shall be willing to help you with, but the ones that you can try to see if you can remember, that would be good. So that's an overview for the theory test, and hopefully that'll give you a good start. Work on as many of those kinds of things this week. I'd take one kind of question at each day, practice day. You can start thinking through and working through some of those.